Tyler had been married to Olivia for 20 years. Their journey together began at lightning speed. They tied the knot barely a month after they first met. They were young, carefree, and deeply in love, so much so that they didn't care what anyone else thought. Their parents, however, were completely shocked and doubted that this whirlwind marriage would last. Tyler's mother would often ask, "Are you sure about this? You're both so young." But he would simply smile and say he loved Olivia too much to risk letting someone else marry her first. Olivia was 2 years older than Tyler. She was 24 when they got married. At times, she treated him almost like a younger brother, telling him what to wear, how to behave at work, and basically micromanaging his every move. And let me tell you, Olivia had a fiery temper. She would explode over the smallest things and hold on to grudges for the pettiest reasons. But Tyler was the kind of man who always extended an olive branch first. He would apologize right away and make peace. A year into their marriage, Olivia had big news. Soon, they would be a family of 3. 9 months later, their home was filled with the cries of their baby boy, Jason. Time flew by, and in the years that followed, Tyler found himself working in another city. He would be away for weeks at a time and return home for only short breaks. On one of those trips, Olivia decided to do a deep cleaning of their apartment, running the dishwasher, the washing machine, and using the sink constantly to rinse rags. Then, disaster struck. A hose connected to one of the pipes snapped, and water started spraying everywhere. Olivia immediately shut off the water supply and cleaned up the mess, but she had no clue what to do next, especially since Tyler wouldn't be back anytime soon. That evening, as she took the elevator down to head to a hardware store, she ran into their neighbor, Nick. After a quick greeting, Nick casually asked where she was headed, letting out a tired sigh. Olivia explained the plumbing mishap. "Who's going to fix that for you?" he asked. She shrugged. I honestly don't know. Tyler just left, so I was going to ask the store staff if they had a list of repairmen." Nick offered to take a look at it himself. The next day, he arrived with a toolbox filled with every gadget imaginable. He spent almost the entire day wrestling with pipes and hoses, but in the end, he got the job done. By that point, Olivia was so grateful that she insisted on making him dinner as a thank you. "All right, count me in," Nick said with a grin. "By the way, I have some homemade wine at my place. Mind if I grab it real quick?" That wine turned out to be delicious, sweet, fragrant, and much stronger than it initially seemed. Olivia felt its effects quickly, and before long, Nick was equally tipsy. They ended up having an unexpectedly fun evening together. The next morning, they woke up in the same bed, realizing in horror what had happened. Panic-stricken, Olivia practically shoved Nick out the door, warning him never to return and never to speak of it again. But the next evening, Nick was at Olivia's door, ringing the bell nonstop. He stood there holding a bouquet of flowers and a box of chocolates. Without a second thought, she slammed the door in his face. He left the gifts on the doormat before heading home. Months passed, and Olivia barely saw Nick except for the occasional awkward greeting in the hallway. Eventually, Tyler returned from work, and Olivia told him about the burst hose, but conveniently left out the part about spending the night with Nick. Tyler assured her that he would inspect everything in the apartment to make sure nothing else broke while he was away. However, Nick knew Tyler's schedule all too well. As soon as Tyler left for work again, Nick showed up at Olivia's door once more. This time, he was more persistent, almost forceful. Olivia finally gave in and let him inside. "I got you this cake," he said proudly. "Thanks," she replied, trying to sound as indifferent as possible. "I still have some of that wine left," he hinted with a playful smile. And just like that, it started all over again. Olivia thought, one more time won't hurt, and let him bring the wine. Naturally, one time turned into many. They started meeting up every few weeks whenever Tyler was away. One day, they almost got caught. Olivia and Tyler's son, Jason, now 19 and studying in another city, suddenly showed up at their apartment for the weekend without warning. The doorbell rang, and Olivia's heart nearly jumped out of her chest. "Is that Tyler?" She panicked. Peeking through the peephole, she let out a sigh of relief. It was Jason. Lying to her son would be easier. She opened the door and let him in. "Oh, hey, honey," she said casually. "Our neighbor Nick was just here. He brought me some wine. I buy it from him sometimes. Can you believe it? He fermented himself." She hoped Jason would believe the story, silly as it sounded. Nick and Olivia paused their meetups for a while, because Tyler was sticking around the house longer than usual. One evening, Tyler confessed that he was seriously considering quitting his out-of-town job. Being away from Olivia for so long was tearing him apart. This news caught Olivia completely off guard. If Tyler stayed home permanently, she would have to either stop seeing Nick altogether or come up with some elaborate scheme to continue their affair behind Tyler's back. One day, Nick barged into the apartment, his frustration boiling over. "I can't take this anymore," he muttered. "I'm too used to being with you." Tyler had stepped out to run errands, leaving Olivia home alone. She tried to push Nick away, but he cornered her and forcefully dragged her toward the bedroom. Meanwhile, Tyler had just finished up some work at his company's local office and decided to come home earlier than expected. It was pouring rain outside, and he was drenched by the time he hurried into the building. In the elevator, he tried to shake the water off his jacket. By the time he reached their floor, the sky had darkened with storm clouds, turning the day into what felt like night. As Tyler stepped into the apartment, he flipped on the light switch in the entryway, only to spot an unfamiliar pair of men's slippers lying on the floor. "Olivia," he called out. From the bedroom, he heard muffled voices and frantic rustling. Without hesitation, he stormed down the hallway in a single stride and threw the door wide open. There, sitting on their bed, was Olivia, clutching a blanket tightly around herself. Standing next to her, half-dressed, was Nick. Tyler's breath caught in his throat. "What the hell is going on?" he stammered, stunned. Then, fixing his gaze on Olivia, he spoke more clearly. "Are you out of your mind?" Olivia sat there, pale as a ghost, gripping the blanket so tightly her knuckles turned white. Nick tried to make a run for the door, but Tyler stopped him with a solid punch to the jaw, then literally kicked him out into the hallway. That evening, Tyler and Olivia talked for hours. Sometimes, Tyler raised his voice, demanding to know why she had done it, what she had even been thinking. Olivia sobbed uncontrollably, pleading for forgiveness. Tyler told her he would think about it, and he did. But the very next day, he went straight to a lawyer and filed for divorce. Their friends and family were completely shocked. From the outside, their marriage had always seemed picture perfect. No one ever suspected Olivia was capable of such a heartless betrayal. Everyone rallied around Tyler, sympathizing with the pain he had endured. As for Nick, he asked Olivia to move in with him, but that had never been her intention. She turned him down, left to fend for herself. She got a job for the first time in years, since Tyler had always been the provider. Later, she moved in with another man, only to discover he had a severe drinking problem. When he was intoxicated, he became aggressive, lashing out in violent outbursts. Sometimes, he even raised his fist at her. After every fight, Olivia would lock herself in the bathroom, sobbing as she desperately tried to wash away her misery. The moment she saved up enough money, she broke the lease and fled, leaving that toxic relationship behind. But regret consumed her. She often thought about everything she had lost with Tyler. As for Tyler, he made a firm decision. He would never remarry. The betrayal from someone he had loved for so long had shattered him completely. Their son, Jason, took his father's side, furious that Olivia had deceived them both. He cut off all contact with her, wanted to stay close. He asked Tyler to move next door to him in the new city where he lived. Tyler agreed. He had no reason to stay in that old apartment anymore. And that's how it all ended. One reckless decision led to a massive betrayal, and in the blink of an eye, a seemingly unbreakable marriage crumbled. Sometimes, the wounds left by betrayal cut too deep to ever truly heal.